Chaim. Schluss of the evening, of the night, should accomplish what it has to accomplish. Gashmias, Ruchnias, we should be inspired, and to be able to give us the strength to be able to go on and continue and grow through the next year.
Meilleur. Je n'arrive pas à l'ouvrir.
The Rebbe asked me to start off with a story that I told by Kinnis Shluchim, and he has Ha'oris. So let me see what the story is and what the Ha'oris are.
No, I wanted to hear again. By the way, tonight is amazing.
One day, I was in 770 minding my own business, and Mendel Futterfass comes over to me. He asked me, everybody knows who Mendel Futterfass, a famous mashpia from Russia, Mesiras Nefesh. We spoke about him, how we go from place to place and make voice and all the good things. But he was here, and he was getting older. So one time, we knew each other. He came over to me and he says, "Look, I have a problem with walking, and I'm staying on President Street by Nagel. It's 2 blocks. Could I lean on you for the 2 blocks? Okay? And in exchange for that, I'll give you a story." I said, "It sounds like a good deal." Okay? So we were walking from Eastern Parkway to President, and he told me the story and interpretation. When he was in Russia, in prison, you can't choose your roommates when you're in jail. They put you where they want. So he was in prison together with a Russian guy, an engineer, like everybody in Russia, so you got to talk. You know, you're there for years. You have to talk to each other. So what do you say? So, yeah, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? How did you get here? You know, what crime did you do? Okay, so we talk. So the roommate tells him that I had a contract working for the Russian government, and my job was to bring up ships to the bottom of the Black Sea.
To bring what?
It's timely.
To bring up boats that sank,
Okay.
and to be able to bring them up to the surface. And in those days, this is the 1920s, 100 years ago, they had sonar, so they're able to go and find out more or less where the ship is in there. And then explained how they worked. That they would send divers down into the sea to where the ship was, and the divers would feel along to get a feeling how long the ship is and how deep it is and everything else, and they would make a diagram. And where is the mast, where's the top box, and whatever, all the rest of it, they were able to feel along, and they would make a map. And then, once they had a good picture of the ship that they had to get, so then the trick was that they would send more divers down with a burlap sacks. And I usually tell the story, most people don't know what I'm talking about because most people never heard of burlap. But burlap is a very thick type of a material. It comes from flax and was used very often, but it's very strong. So the divers would go down with these bags and tie them to parts of the ship. And then what you could do is we send down air into the bags to fill them up like a balloon, and the buoyancy would bring the ship right to the surface. Okay, so the trick was to be able to know exactly where to tie it and everything else, and then so Mendel's saying, I was thinking to myself, we have a teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, everything you hear is a lesson. So what is Hashem? What in the world can I learn how to bring a ship from the bottom of the Black Sea to the top? Obviously, I guess some of that stuff stayed in his pocket, which is why he was in jail. So he was working for the government, so it wasn't supposed to be in his pocket. But I guess that some of it that wasn't in the plan. So Mendel was saying, I was always wondering what's the message, till I came to America. I came to America and I saw what the Rebbe was doing with Mitzrayim, with Chabad. I realized the whole thing is a marshal. What's a marshal? The marshal is that the ship in the bottom of the Black Sea is Am Yisrael in Golis. The whole Jewish people are in Golis in the bottom of the Black Sea. And the trick is, so somehow or other, we have to get the ship to the surface. You have to get it to the surface. How do you get it to the surface? You have to be a ruach mimarim. You have to have air that will bring it up. However, the problem is, however, that over the years, I don't know exactly how long those ships were down there, it's very probable that parts of the ship fell off. They fell off. Okay? Now, when the ship comes up, those pieces will stay down.
Sure.
If whatever's connected will go up, the rest of it won't.
Right.
So, and we know that when Mashiach comes, no Jew will be left behind. That's what it says. Okay? So somehow or other we have to figure out what to do with the pieces that are stuck on the ground. So there are two H's. One H, you can set more divers with a hammer and nails, and you find each one, and you hammer it to the ship. So when the ship goes up, it'll take it along. However, that's a very difficult, almost impossible thing to do. In the bottom of the sea, to be able to get a hammer and nails and find each piece and bang it there, it's almost impossible. And Efrat, the Chofetz Chaim says that when Mashiach doesn't have to wait for every year to become from. Mashiach can come before that. So we don't have to. We'll see what I'm saying. The other Eitzah is you take a little thread, a little string, and tie it to the pieces. So when the ship comes up, it'll take the pieces up with it. Okay, which is much easier than taking a hammer and nail at the bottom of the sea. What are the strings? Mitzrayim. When you meet a Yid, just like you see by going out of Mitzrayim, the Rebbe gave a couple of mitzvahs that we should have as schools to be able to come out of Mitzrayim. Same thing here. What it is that you have to you mazak a Yid one time, putting on film, mezuzah, whatever it is. It's a string to the ship, so that when the ship comes up, everybody will be connected with it. So this answers an important question. A lot of people make the cheshbon. So you meet a Jew one time, he puts on film. So what? Okay. So what's the point? He's not coming. What percent of the people came from? Okay, of the people that you meet, small percent. I remember in the early days of Hadar Torah, I was involved in that point, and Rabbi Jacobson had an idea. You should get more talmidim, more students. What you can do is you can have somebody. This is way before the Chabad houses. Somebody should go on the campus and get them to come to Hadar Torah. There's thousands of students out there.
Right.
All you just got to have them come to yeshiva. Well, so he hired somebody, and no one's come to yeshiva. Okay. So after a while, you made a cheshbon based on what the expense is and how many students they got. That was the end of that idea. Okay, it didn't pay. So the same thing here. If you're going to figure out the expense of what the Mitzrayim and how many people became from there, you can make a cheshbon mathematically. But he said, but that's not the point. The point is not if they become frum or not, and it's also not the point if there's a hemshich. I mean, of course, you want to have a hemshich. You want them to be able to build on that.
Right.
But even the thing itself, the one-time mitzvah that you do, already gives them a connected Klal Yisrael. And that means you have the schools to be able to have for the gula. So really what we're doing when you're doing Mitzrayim, it's not just like any developed things we're trying to get people from. That's beautiful if it happens. But the thing itself, the mezuzah that you put up, the tefillah that you put out one time that you do, is already connecting him to Klal Yisrael and giving him a schus for the gula that he should be able to be redeemed.
Sure.
Since we want everybody to be redeemed, We have to see as many people as possible. We had an interesting shiloh that came up when I was in Kiel. What if you meet a Jew who never put on film in his life, but you met him on Chol Hamoed? Okay, so our minute is we don't put on film on Chol Hamoed.
But this is your
But
chance.
who says you'll ever see this guy again? There's one chance. There's one chance in his life to put on film, to be out, not should be a capital to film. So they asked Zalman Shimon what the question is, and we were all surprised to his answer. We said no. He said no because it says according to the Zohar, you're chayav misa. So therefore, just because he didn't put on film, you should kill the guy.
Kill the guy.
So, I mean, but we all did. We expected the answer, the regular answer. We asked most rabbanim. Most rabbanim not chassidus sharov. The answer that you would get, look, it overrides the fact that he could put on film one time in his life. Overrides the fact that it's Chol Hamoed. But here it's an insult to Chol Hamoed, to the Yom Tov. And the answer of Zalman Shimon said no. But the point I'm trying to say is that every time you do a mitzvah, you're helping a yid come close to the gula. It's a preparation for gula. That's what it is. There's one less Jew who doesn't have a schus. And therefore, it's not a question if you get him, see him again, you can put on film again. But the idea of it is you're strengthening the string. But the idea of it is, it's not only a question of how many Fumi Yidden are there before Mashiach comes. That's not the point. The point is how many mitzvahs, how many Jews did a mitzvah that they should be able to be zoicha, that they should be worthy of the gula. And that's really what once a person realizes that that's what mitzvah is about, it puts a whole different dimension. Yet, we want to do gula, as soon as possible. And here is maybe this is a blockage that this Yid has to do a mitzvah. So I'm doing it. I'm taking away a blockage. So therefore, it's kedai. It's worth putting all the effort in, whether or not it leads to anything. That's the way I remember. Okay, that's the way I remember the story. You have orders?
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Well, if you have comments on it.
I'm assuming your story was green on me.
Really? Of course.
Is it a metaphor of us?
Yeah, well, metaphor was right.
But he wasn't clearly.
And the fact that he said we
wasn't clear.
need more
Oh,
mitzvahs,
okay.
that's
No, this story right at the beginning of Mitzvah's film.
a few years back.
Yeah, going back. Yeah. Because I remember hearing the story. I was in Kiel, that was in the Chofs, and I remember that we were very surprised with the answer, and that's why.
No, I'm saying because now now they haven't told us we did enough mitzvahs to earn the gula. Nobody's holding us back.
What's happening? Doesn't mean we stop doing mitzvahs.
Oh, so we always do mitzvahs.
Okay, and you don't have to stop doing, just eating the schusim.
Of course.
Just the fact that we did a lot, good. I'm not minimizing what the Rebbe is saying. I just don't understand exactly how it's supposed to affect me. As far as I know, I put on film before, I have to put on film now. I don't think the Rebbe is trying to discourage that. Right. So that's I think there's things happening, okay, other things happening, but I'm not. Who's the Menagim?
Chaim, yeah, Chaim.
Chaim.
Chaim River.
Yeda, ya 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 yeda, ya yeda, ay da 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 ya 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 yo yeda, ya yeda, ya da 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 ya.
In Gimmel Tamuz, for those who did have an opportunity to see the Rebbe, interact with the Rebbe, I think it's an important thing for us to reminisce and to remember over things and to share them. So, and the purpose of it is not a negative. The Rebbe would never accept that. It says in Tanya, Perek Lamed Aleph, that a person should make a cheshbon nefesh. That to know where you're holding. And it says over there, it says in the Perek that through that you realize you can get to Atzvus. You get up to realize how far away you are from where you should be, and far away from the Eibishter. And we know that Tanya speaks so strongly about Simcha and not Atzvus. But he says, first of all, it's not really Atzvus, it's Meriras, it'll bring you to new positive things. Then there's a line there, which I felt was sort of, it says here, that the person, when he makes that cheshbon, how far he is, he says, Kol mach ani b'tachlis arichok me'Hashem, which was in the Torah, and how shikutz, and how far away I am, that's all the guf. However, I have an neshama that nefesh kiss, a chaylik el kam yamal mamish, and the more I realize how far I am, the more I realize the rachmanis of my nefesh el kiss, and how important it is. So, in that spirit, and in Nigla, I also find something like that. You have a story at the end of Makis. Rabbi Kiva goes and he sees the Romi, and therefore he says, Nichamtoni, or a fox coming out of the base of Mikdash. Nichamtoni. I mean, what? He knew that before, but seeing the negative brought out a deeper level of positive. He said, if this is the way it could be that way, imagine how it's going to be when it's good. Okay? So the negative brought out the positive more. That he saw it only after. He only said it only afterwards. So I was going to share with you the last 100 years in 5 minutes or so about my family's connection with Chabad, and specifically the Rebbe, because it started even before. Just kids there. I hope you'll bear with me, but the reason for me doing this is that I'm hoping that everybody will, on their own lives, will also make those ksharim, with those moments with the Rebbe, or even if you didn't see the Rebbe, but the sichas and the inspiration that you have is an opportunity to review it and rehash it and bring it out more.
No rush.
No, 100 years?
I got time.
No, 100 years. Okay. Really?
You look very good, by the way.
For 100 years?
Okay. You look very good.
2000.
So the story, the first connection by Zayda was a Slonim Chassid, not Chabad. And the story goes, the way I heard it, more or less, that the Slonim Rebbe decided to go and visit the various Rebbes in his time. There's a number of different times the stories about that. And Slonim was not that far from Lubavitch, and he went to Rebbe's shop. And he came back with there was a number of quotes, the stories of it. One that the Rebbe Rishab asked him to say at Bar Torah, and on Va'era, and the Rebbe Rishab called in the Friediger Rebbe. He said, "You hear what the Slomo Rebbe said? Va'era, if you only want to, you could be others. If you really want to, you could be great." I mean, there's stories from those visits. The other story goes that he saw a watch on this side and that side in the middle of a broken heart. There are different quotes and different traditions. But anyway, the story is he came back to Slonim, and he was having tish. And my Zayda was a young bocher who's related in some way. And in Slonim, the minhag is that you chaf shirayim. The Rebbe would eat a little bit, and everybody would eat. So when Isaiah was grabbing, and this is the way I heard the story, that the Slonim Rebbe took his hand, he says, "This is not for you. You have to go to Lubavitch."
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay, Zeta was a goy, a brilliant kid, and he was still a kid, wasn't married yet, and so he went to Lubavitch, and then he was by the Rebbe Shab. Yeah. And he went and he was by the Rebbe Shab. I heard one different versions. So I heard my brother heard is that what the Rebbe Shab told me he should learn Chassidus, and he says Chassidus. I mean, this is something you can only learn when you're full of Shas and Poskim. How can you learn Kabbalah? At this age. And according to the Rebbe Shab said, "Amaya Chayas, my responsibility. You will learn." We have some stories like that. Meanwhile, after that, Isaiah ends up getting married, Litvish, and living near Minsk, which is also in the news these days. Okay, Minsk was a very Litvish, very misnagish city. In fact, I don't know if there's any other. We have different stories, but there was no other Hasidim in town. Okay, but anyway, so my father grew up in that environment, in a frum environment. Isaiah was good, but there was no Hasidim or anything like that. But he wasn't happy with the yeshiva there for some reason. In fact, the story goes he insisted that he wanted more. So finally, the story goes that they didn't know in Russia all the yeshivas were closed. This is in the 1920s. So where do you go? So there was an article. A lot of people know the story. There was an article in the Russian newspaper. In Russian, saying that what's going on in this modern day and age, there's still a town with a yeshiva with people with beard and payas and mikvah water coming out of the payas and all the rest of that in Neville. And how do we allow something like this in this day and age? We have to do something about it. So the Rav says, there's yeshiva in Neville? Okay. So he goes, takes the boy, and he gets in the train and goes to Neville. Where's the yeshiva? Now, the yeshiva's underground. No one's supposed to know that there's a yeshiva there. But it was in the papers. So the Rav comes in, and just to fast forward a little bit, and then I'll go backwards if you can follow me, is when Mendel Futterfass came out of Russia. He's not my best friend. I have to have a couple stories. That's all. Okay? So I went over to him and I asked him, did you ever hear of the town where my father grew up? So he says, no, I don't come from that part of Russia. I only have one story about that town. I said, oh yeah? Could you tell me a story? He said, yeah. When I was in yeshiva in Neville, a Rav came in with a little boy and says he's interested in coming to learn here. So we asked him, how do you know about us? We're underground, you're not supposed to know about it. He said, I read about it in the papers. Okay?
Yeah.
So he said, so the Rav said, however, before I let my son learn here, I want to know what you say to real Bulim. What do you learn here? What's your schedule? What do you learn things? So they told him. They told me to learn Chassidus. So this is what Mendel's saying. He says it. And he says, what's Chassidus? So he said, So he said, okay, let me see one. So he took one to the other room, he sat down for half an hour, read something, and he came back, okay, I agree. This is okay. My son can stay here. So I told Mendel, it's very interesting you tell me that story. But that's my Zayda and my father. Okay? And this is, 100 years later, telling me the story. They said that's the only story I happen to remember from this town. He wasn't Neville, but from Hardok near Minsk. It's the only thing he had this story. So I said the only thing that doesn't make sense is Zayda would know what Chassidus is, because he was by the Rebbe Shab. He was in Lubavitch. Every story has to have a little inaccuracy, but the rest of the story is. So I'm just saying. So this is how we sort of came into Temple Tmimim. My father was around approximately 14 or 15 at the time, and he said the Rosh Hashiva, Yehuda Eber, was a genius, and he gave a share every day. And Friday gave one share that covered the whole week, reviewed it, and he said I couldn't keep up with it. So they said, okay, then we're sending you down to the next class. which was in a different city, because these were underground yeshivas. You didn't get more than one class in a city, so we had to go to the next town. And he remembered some of his teachers. Rabbi Yor was one of his teachers. Kesselman, Shlomo Chaim. These were some of the teachers. Then my little father lost contact with them all for over 50 years. His father came to America. My Zeta was able to get papers to come to America in 1930, and no one was able to come, and he lost contact. But meanwhile, before they came here, this is our first connection with the Rebbe. That was in Riga. In Riga, there was a Frierdiker Rebbe. It was around 1920, probably 29 or so. The Frierdiker Rebbe was in America collecting money for Russian Jewry. So that's Tishrei. The Rebbe wasn't there, and there was a whole write-up about it in the magazines. I mean, how the Hasidim felt being Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur without the Rebbe. Altois wrote a whole thing in his diary, and it was a whole discussion about it, because it says that the Haradoka Rov came with his boys. So everyone was trying to figure out who is this Haradoka Rov, and there was a whole discussion about it. They thought it was Rabbi Shmerling, because there was more than one Haradok. There was a Haradok in Vitebsk, and this is the Minsk. So, but anyway, we figured out it was my Zeta. But we weren't sure, so I called my aunt, who was still alive. I called her, by the way, yeah, sure. Papa went with the boys, went to the Rebbe. I mean, that was the other discussion. Yeah, they were there. So my father told me that Simchas Torah, the Rebbe, who just got married, the Rebbe made a Farbrengen in Riga. And he told all the Tmimim to say L'chaim. So my father was a 17-year-old kid. I mean, Tmimim, you don't mean me. So the Rebbe called him over and said, you learned the Neville, you qualify, you can say L'chaim. That was our first connection with the Rebbe. When my father was still a kid in Riga in 1929. So that was the first introduction. That's why I was getting this whole backup to get to the Rebbe. My first connection with the Rebbe was many years later, because I grew up in Boston, and it was in those days you didn't travel. You didn't, from New York to Boston, it's 200 miles, 250 miles, okay? But you didn't go. I mean, only emerged. It was a big deal to travel. So we never went to New York. The first time I went to New York was for Motl Dubinsky's Chasana. It was in Tafshin, Gimmel, 53, something like that. And at that Chasana, because Motl was a teacher in Yeshiva in Boston, so my father felt that he should take us to the Chasana. And the Rebbe was in Sada Kedushin, in the hall. This is before the Rebbe was stopped in the halls in the early 70. This was in the hall in the early days. And I still remember that time. I was a kid playing around, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I don't know about Rebbe's, I don't know anything. I'm a kid, we were playing around in the hall. Now over there, that hall, it had a fire escape. No, the chuppah was on the fire escape. It's the outdoors. Okay, nowadays everybody has it built. The halls have it all built in. They didn't. They could either go outside, or they didn't fire escape. So the Rebbe, and the Chassan Kala, and whoever could fit out there, was out there, and everybody else pushed themselves to get as close as possible to see what's going on. Now I have no clue what's going on here. You know, at that time I'm about 8 years old, 9 years old. Okay, I'm a kid, first time in New York, and Chasna, and I don't know anybody. So I'm lost. And then I see everybody going that way. I said, okay, go. I'll keep on playing, over here. When they finished the chuppah, the Rebbe was going out, and all the Chassidim are following him. So I'm just standing there. So some Chassid grabbed me and pulled me into the crowd.
Everyone was leaving the hall?
The Rebbe was leaving the hall after the chuppah. So they grabbed me and pulled me into the pile. So I have no idea who this person is, and I have no idea what's going on here. And somehow or other, it ended up, the Rebbe was waiting for the elevator to go down. So while the Rebbe was standing over here with the elevator, the Chassidim make a circle, and they're jumping up and down and dancing. Somehow or other, I end up in the front, right next to the Rebbe. I have no idea how that happened, and I'm standing there, and I'm petrified. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know anybody here. I'm a 9-year-old kid, first there, and I was ready to cry. I was, Mama, you know, I was panicking. So the Rebbe walked over to me and says, in Yiddish, assuming that I knew Yiddish, you know, from Boston, not everybody knew Yiddish, but my father did teach me Yiddish, so I was able to understand it. The Rebbe walked over to me and says, "Was tanzt du nicht? Why aren't you dancing?" Now, I'm even more scared. I don't know who the Rebbe is. And this man comes over to me and asks, "Why aren't you dancing?" And then I was, Mom was ready.
You know that was the Rebbe?
Huh?
You know that was...
I don't know anything. I'm a kid, right? Then I looked in the crowd and I see my father, you know, in the back. So I guess I turned to him and smiled. So the Rebbe turned around to see who I was smiling at. So, okay? And then some Hosed, big guy, grabs me and starts shaking me up and down. The Rebbe says, "What's tanzanish?" Okay? So it's like emptying out a milk bottle, you know? Okay? So I'm dancing, all right? So I'm dancing. But that was my first experience with the Rebbe. And somehow or other, again, it made such an impression, I remember it. Again, I was a kid. And I don't know who the Rebbe is. I just remember that the Rebbe came over to me and said, "Was tanzt nicht?" And I used that argument many years later. Many years later, when I was in yeshiva in Newark. This is many years later. And a group of us got very, very sick. We got typhoid. Somebody who was a carrier touched some food, and 5 of us ended up in the hospital. And I was in the hospital, I had the worst, and I was there for over Pesach. And while I was in the hospital, I mean, no one told me exactly, you know, everybody was, I'm a bacher. You know, nothing go wrong. Bacher are super sweet, nothing, we have no problems, okay? So somehow or other, I have no clue what's going on. I know that I'm in the hospital and it's Pesach, so I'm telling the nurses, but you know, you have fever, okay? But you have to wash me down with alcohol. Alcohol is chametz. You can't use alcohol. I mean, the whole city is saying this kid is crazy. But no one ever told me I have sakana, so I'm assuming that I'm not sakana. So therefore, you shouldn't be using alcohol. So all the nurses, the Catholic nurses, were washing me down with cold water. Their hands were turning blue because this kid won't let us use alcohol. Okay, but there was one at the point that when they wrote to the Rebbe about the story, the Rebbe said it should be b'simcha. Okay, so therefore I took this as a hemshech. The Rebbe said first, "Was tanzt du nicht?" And now, many years later, it should be b'simcha. So, and so I said, fine, it's simple, no problem. The only thing is, at one time, now they don't do it anymore. Those days, the doctor would go make rounds with the students, and they were still in the hallway, and they would discuss what's going on inside. So I was curious, no one's telling me, so I hid behind the door. What are they saying? They're saying, well, we don't know if this kid's gonna make it. Whoa. Okay, because we only have one medicine for this illness, and that one is he could be destroying his liver. We don't know how much longer we can keep up with this, and if it doesn't get finished by then, we don't know what we can do after that. So I said, "Kabow!" You know, I mean, I'm hearing this as the first time, and I'm in shock. I said, "Nah," but the Rebbe said, "B'simcha." Who cares? Okay, and Kachave, you know, the fever broke just in time. But I'm just saying, the Rebbe came through. Look, I have some more stories about the Rebbe, but let me know, I'll say Chaim is a good nigga.
So you live.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, Baruch Hashem, yeah.